Okay, folks, where am I supposed to look? Okay, I'm sorry. All right, folks, someone had a question and it was an email, and I can't remember now where this person said that they were from. This light's shining directly in my eye. Hold on. Let me aim it up so you guys can still see me. And I'm living on the edge right now because my battery is really like low blinking. So hopefully I can do this and still be good. But anyhow, the video was about because of the market here in Seattle area, they wanted to know about purchasing a home and how is it done so quickly, or how can one purchase a home so quickly. This person is from another country. Now, I went through, saw the email, and I read it the other day, and I can't remember exactly where this person's from and that type of thing. So I'm just going to do a general thing because it doesn't matter where you're from. Can a person from another country own a home in the U.S.? The answer is yes, they can. There's nothing that stops a person from another country owning, per se. There are probably some caveats there, but generally there's not anything that can stop a person from owning a home or a huge high-rise building, or even to do a new build on a home, or to do a new construction project of even a shopping mall, for example. There's nothing here in the U.S. that stops a person from doing that. However, it is really hard for someone who is from another country if they don't have cash. I bought a house in 3 different states, Indiana being the first one, New Mexico being the second one, and then of course here in Washington State. I've lived in apartments in Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, New Mexico, and here in Washington State. And I can tell you that pretty much when it comes to apartments and things like that, the regulations based on the state, and things are a little bit different. Some states add certain things, but generally an apartment is going to be the same across the board. Most places will have you have, if the apartment's say $200 for example a month, where can you find one like that? Then you have to make 3 times as much in earnings as the rent is. So in other words, you would need to make at least $600 a month from your paycheck in order to get that apartment. Now that's not necessarily a state law or federal law. That's just basically how a lot of apartments and landlords operate. They also want you to pay sometimes first and last month's rent and security deposits. Those are all going to be based on a lot of times what the state will allow them to do, and sometimes local cities will have laws that kind of curtail that. But if you are from another country, renting an apartment is not that hard, but sometimes you may need to have a co-signer because they will check your credit. Some places with a little bit less security in terms of checking things may not even check your credit. Some are a little bit more flexible if you are a student or something like that. I didn't see anywhere in the email or kind of remember that you said you were a student or not. Purchasing a home in Seattle is no different than purchasing a home anywhere else except for the closing time. Can a person from another country own a home or purchase a home here in the U.S.? Yes, but typically they have to do it with cash only, and that means buying the whole house. If the house is $300,000, they need $300,000 in cash, period. And pay all the closing costs and things like that. Or they would have to have a co-signer. Because if you don't have credit, you're not going to get a loan, period. In order to get a loan in the U.S., you have to have the high enough credit score, and you have to make sure that you put a certain amount of money towards the house. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. You have to do those things. It doesn't matter what state you're choosing. That is how it is in general. Now, some people, again, can get around that, like they have up in Canada, some places here in the U.S., where a person will come in and they have a lot of money and they can just buy whatever they want. You don't need a cosigner. You don't need anything. Money talks, so you're going to be able to get it. But for anybody else, if you don't have the ability to pay for something outright in cash, then yeah, you would have to basically go through it with credit. And credit is not established overnight, as a lot of Americans can tell you. And of course, this video, if you've already had a house or purchased a house, or you already know this is not for you, but I'm just answering this person's question. Credit takes a long time to build up and establish, and it has to be of a certain number in order for you to get a good interest rate, and it has to be of a certain high number in order for you to even be considered for a loan, whether it's a car, whether it's a credit card, whether it's a house. You need to have pretty good credit. So in your email, you had mentioned that someone came from wherever you're from and was able to get a house or something like that. They probably paid cash for it if they were able to do that. Otherwise, if not, or unless they have a co-signer that has the ability, there's really no other way. They're probably renting the home, which is a lot easier to do. Because then you don't have those hoops. When you buy a house, obviously it takes time for it to truly do the closing. Different areas are different in terms of that time frame. Typically it's 30 days because basically the seller of the home and the buyer of the home, they have realtors that have to pretty much work together. It works with your particular bank. You need a pre-approval letter. You need to make sure that you have earnest money to put down. Usually if you don't have as much as 20% down of the original price of the home, you're going to have what's called PMI, which is basically insurance for the bank. It's a way for them to get extra money. So you get basically that insurance. Once you reach that 20 or 21% of the amount paid off, then that falls off, and then everything starts to go towards the principal. But you also have money that basically is, once you actually get the account started, everything kind of just sits there and it kind of pays for everything. You have to make sure you have inspections that are done, and all of those types of things take time. Hold on, my battery is about to die. Okay, sorry about that. So anyhow, it takes time for that process to take place because obviously the title, there's a lot of things involved, from title companies to assessors' offices to surveyors that may have to get involved when you purchase a property to make sure the land's been surveyed correctly, so all the boundaries are actually yours. Different areas require different things. Like, for example, here in Tacoma, you would have to get you don't have to, but you should probably get a sewer scope, which is basically a test that they do to make sure your sewer lines are good. All of these things, from inspections and everything else, takes a lot of time generally because you're working on someone else's schedule. And also, of course, your bank, whenever you do actually get a loan, your bank is actually going to take a lot of time because actually you have to deal with a whole bunch of people doing a lot of underwriting and paperwork and this and that and filing this. So it takes generally about 30 days. Some places it takes about 45 days for this to actually be completed. And in very hot markets, it may take up to that time, 45 days. But generally, every place else, most places in the country, you're looking at about 30 days, 30 to 40 days. There may be some instances where it can be shorter than that, but it's kind of difficult. There's a lot of paper signing. Anyone that's ever signed for a car or a home, there's just a lot. I mean, your hand hurts with all the papers that you have to sign and documents that you have to sign and initial and read and all of that. It's a really long process. But yeah, generally, if someone's from another country, yeah, they would have to probably, it would be safe bet to have an attorney working with you as well as an actual realtor, because a lot of that stuff can be kind of complicated and it gets a little bit kind of different. But usually a person is able to have their own credit when they do it. And in order to have credit established and things like that, you have to have a valid Social Security number. So that's a whole different thing. If you're just kind of stopping through, we have a lot of students that come through the area, obviously. Most of them just have a temporary Social Security number where they're able to go to school, but they're not authorized to work. So those type of Social Security numbers, believe it or not, you're not able to get credit on that. So the only way you're going to be able to start to get credit is once you've got that authorization to, stay here as a permanent resident. It's a complicated thing that other people know more about. But yeah, to answer your question, you can own a home, you can rent, an apartment or a home, but it's a little bit different than it would be if you are from here. So anyhow, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. My battery's still going to die here, even though I try to save it. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.